Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Scott Bricker. I'm the Interim Vice President of Destination Development at Travel Oregon. I'm here with the Destination Development team, and we're excited to be here with you to share information and hold a question and answer session on our new Destination Ready Engagement and Investment Program. Next slide. Travel Oregon is Oregon's destination management organization. And we are working every day to create a better life for all Oregonians through strong, sustainable local communities that welcome a diversity of explorers. Next slide. We have adjusted our organizational outcomes recently to meet the needs of the industry during this time of crisis. Over the past 6 months, we rolled out programs such as business resiliency grants and an industry-focused virtual training, engagement, and assistance program. We launched communications campaigns to support Oregonians to shop locally and encourage safe and responsible recreation as we saw record numbers of Oregonians going outside this past summer. Over the next 6 months, Travel Oregon plans to roll out a new suite of investments to support the industry that will include this destination engagement and investment program that you're here to learn about today, as well as grants to the industry, more safe and responsible recreation messaging, and our amazing inspirational marketing campaigns when it is safe and responsible to do so. Next slide. The Destination Development Department of Travel Oregon is pleased to bring you the Destination Ready program. Over the last decade plus, we have worked with destinations across Oregon as we define destinations as geographic areas consisting of a set of resources and attractions that are visited by tourists, to create programs that help clarify tourism outcomes and collaboratively accomplish projects towards those outcomes. Our classic programming goes deep. They're multifaceted and use a longer incubation timeline to build new connectivity and help communities come together on key priorities to move forward. Today, in response to our industry dealing with crisis, we are short-circuiting this classic approach and rolling out an engagement program that aims to invest in destination projects that can be completed in short order by local partners. We intend to leverage all of our collective past work of convening and creating shared visions and outcomes and focus on enhancing and stewarding critical destination assets so that they are ready for the coming peak visitor season and beyond. In this process, destination leaders with capacity will apply, and Travel Oregon staff and contractors will commit capacity to support and complete accepted projects as needed, and with a focus on funding projects that can successfully be completed in 6 months, and ideally in time for the peak visitor season. Next slide. Today, you'll hear from all members of the Destination Development team, including myself, Alexa Carey, the Director of Community-Based Services, Hillary Sager, our Product Development Coordinator, and Jordan McCauley, our Coordinator of Destination Development. We also right now want to learn who you are. So we're going to launch a really quick poll to ask you what part of the state your projects will be impacting. So please fill out this poll really quickly, and we'll post the results in just a sec. All right, let's see what we got here. A great mix of folks from around the state. So again, thanks everyone for joining. We know there's a lot of anticipation and interest in this program. Next slide. In today's agenda, obviously I just gave a little quick overview here. Well, I'll be passing it to team members to share a more detailed overview of the program, to discuss more about the menu of eligible projects and investments, to share information about our timeline and process, and then we plan to leave ample time for questions and answers. In advance, you can submit questions anytime during this presentation by using the question and answer feature in Zoom, which is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll do our best to answer as many of those questions during the session and also during our approximately 30-minute Q&A period at the end of today's session. Also recognize that this session will be recorded and can be shared with other colleagues that you want to share it with. And we also will be posting question and answers on our industry website Q&A page. So with that, I'd like to pass the presentation over to Alexa Carey, our Director of Community-Based Services. Thank you.
So now we're going to get a chance to dive into what is this Destination Ready program. And first, I just want to say how much we appreciate having so many of you join from all over the state. Just looking at the list of attendees right now, I see Baker City, Brookings, Astoria, Medford, Umatilla, Sisters, Corvallis, Bend, so many places. It's so great to have all of you participating with us for an hour today. We're going to do a deeper dive into what is this Destination Ready program and share maybe a few under the hood details that you don't see out of the documents that you've been reviewing online. So let's jump into the first slide. Let's talk a little bit around what this Destination Ready program is. And so this provides direct funding and technical assistance that's really aiming to develop and bolster COVID-friendly visitor experiences. This program is a direct investment and engagement program, and we're really looking at targeting development, enhancement, and stewardship of destinations. We have about $250,000 that are available through our department, and this is part of a larger suite of investments that Scott had mentioned. We're really supporting implementation of projects that are between 10,000 and 50,000 at like a local or regional scale that's in a project category that's listed in our eligible documents form and that Hillary will be speaking about a little bit later on. One of the long-term intentions that's really coming from the heart of our team is that we're really hoping at aiding an industry recovery right now and at the same time balancing with local livability. Additionally, we're trying to support different types of visitor experiences that provide access to a diversity of explorers. So while we're launching this Destination Ready program, it's really in response to the pandemic and other events that have really impacted visitor experiences, our local economies, and destination management organizations, as many of you are today. This work falls under our COVID strategy plan that many of you have seen, and this focuses on supporting communities and leaders with the development and deployment of visitor management strategies. In our recent survey that many of you took, we had an industry stakeholder survey, and we found that supporting, developing, and bolstering visitor experiences that are COVID appropriate and that enhance the local communities and livability will be the best way to support our Oregon communities as we're starting to recover, as we figure out what that looks like. Coupled with our virtual training engagement assistance program, this Destination Ready program is really going to be our key priority as a department for now through summer 2021. What I really want to cover, though, is hitting on some of those program criteria points that can be really helpful in manifesting the best possible application as we're moving forward. So when you're considering whether to apply to this program, destinations should really be looking at their heart of what are their core visitor experiences, and then apply for those eligible projects, which we'll go into later, so that we can support and enhance what you have within your communities to be able to welcome people back safely, to be able to have an economic impact. So when you're considering who is eligible to apply, let's go into some of the nitty-gritty details there. If you are an Oregon-based DMO, RDMO, like a Main Street or a downtown association, an economic development entity, government, or nonprofit entity like 501c3 and C6 that's registered with the Oregon Secretary of State office, we're good to go. You'll also notice that I didn't say businesses. For-profits can be recipients of the Destination Ready programs and project funding, but only if they're included in an application under an eligible entity like a DMO or RDMO. Funding can go towards staff time to accomplish these Destination Ready projects, but not towards general operating support. There's other resources and other programs that are targeted towards that are coming down the pipeline. But now you have a better understanding of what our focus is within this. When you're looking at the organizational criteria, one of the key points that is so important to really recognize out of this program is that organizational capacity of the lead applicant is going to be so essential to manage the project timeline, to handle administration and implementation. This funding ideally is going towards leveraging other sources of funding, volunteer capacity, and other in-kind matches. And we're making sure at the same time that these projects are really demonstrating how they're addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion. The last piece towards kind of the organizational criteria component is making sure the application is fully complete. We have everything on our industry website that has the application package with the intake form and several other documents that are reviewing that will need you to submit, like a budget, partner commitment form, and then your lead applicant form. One of the things to also know that's really important to us is making sure that the budget is accurate and falls within that minimum and maximum amount. I mentioned that the minimum is 10,000, maximum is 50. Applicants can request more than one project within a project category, and we're encouraging applicants to determine if there is a combination of projects that would support the destination that you guys are working in and still meet like the $10,000 minimum. When it comes to the destination project criteria, one of the things that we're really looking for is making sure that the applicant demonstrates that the tourism experience offerings in the destination is really well aligned with what the best assets are. Additionally, we're ensuring that there's clarity around how this project enhances one or more visitor experiences. We also want to demonstrate that partnerships are happening because 6 months is a quick timeline, and we know that. We're trying to support destinations in accomplishing these projects within 6 months of signing the financial agreement. So partnerships are super helpful to be able to lighten the load on just one entity. And then lastly, and I can't emphasize this enough, the projects need to be accomplished within 6 months of signing the financial agreement, ideally with the hope of impacting the peak visitor season. So the next piece that I want to cover is some of those expectations of commitment. Some of you have worked with us in the past, and it's really important for us to really highlight and clarify what those roles and responsibilities are, because within a 6-month time period, there's a lot that happens to implementing a project. The lead applicant's really the primary point of contact for implementing the project and for communication. And it's imperative that as you're looking through the documents, that you read through and check that you've read that lead applicant commitment agreement, because that highlights what the expectations are. We really want that lead applicant to be the fiscal agent, the champion of the evaluation project, and the project manager and communication manager. There's a lot of hats to wear at once, but by understanding what you're signing on for, we're really going to be able to support you in the most effective way possible as our department and as our organization. Let's touch next on the program outcomes. What we're hoping out of the Destination Ready program is that we're going to be able to focus on having those destination assets in a way that are enhanced and stewarded, so that we're able to support some great, safe, and sustainable visitor experiences that are helping communities at the same time. We want to make sure that these products are something that visitors are really satisfied by as a core destination experience, and that when visitors are coming, they're engaged, and that's resulting in some cases in much safer experiences and improved stewardship of community needs, because with more people out and about visiting in some ways and some assets not being as available, that can create complications in communities, especially those that are experiencing high use. We want to make sure that businesses are well informed and operating to the maximum level that they can for efficiency, just to make sure that we're hitting on that economic impact of visitation. And then the last piece is that we're ensuring that these destination experiences that are created out of this process are ones that are marketable when marketing returns. So let's dive in a little bit more into what these projects entail. So to continue on working on really just unpredictable conditions, what our team has done is created and curated a very set list of visitor experience projects, categories, and projects that are available to be able to select for the Destination Ready program. And that's what's available for funding and support. And Hillary is going to walk us through those details now. Again, so great to see everyone.
Sorry about that. I was muted trying to do too many things at once and not the right things. Hi, everyone. I'm Hillary Sager here, and I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about the actual eligible projects that are included in this program. So I just wanted to start because Alexa did provide some really great information just now around criteria that the projects your organization is considering needs to meet to be eligible for funding through the destination program. And just, I wanted to kind of reiterate through those in case anyone missed them, but these are the important ones really as it relates to eligible projects. So they need to show that they're supporting and enhancing existing core visitor experiences in a destination, support visitor experiences that abide by state guidelines related to COVID-19, that aid in economic recovery, that enhance local livability, and that provide access to a diversity of communities. We also want to see projects that are efforts that a destination has already begun or is actively in the process of considering beginning, and that have a reasonable completion timeline by summer 2021 or September 2021 at the latest. And finally, all projects should align with the Destination Ready eligible projects list, which I think Jordan has just dropped in the chat. Thanks, Jordan. And that is, there have been some questions around whether those are suggestions or whether projects do have to fit into those specific project categories and eligible projects. And the answer is the latter, that only projects in alignment with those in the list will qualify for funding and support through this program. So if you have questions around where your project might fit within this list, just please reach out to our team directly and we can help clarify for you in advance of submitting an application. And just a quick note on how we kind of arrived at this list of eligible projects. We were really looking to ensure that Travel Oregon had the ability to support projects that would align with our organizational outcomes that Scott talked about at the beginning of his presentation, that would align with areas we are able to provide expertise and guidance, because this is an engagement program, it's not just direct investments, and that will make tangible on the ground impact on an expedited timeline. So that kind of led us, and that were COVID appropriate, of course. So that led us to this list of projects. And I encourage you to dive into that. Here's a sort of overview of those project categories. So these are the eligible project categories. There's additional eligible projects listed under each of those categories on the website, the link that Jordan just shared. But there's examples given on this slide, and I will go into more detail. So starting off with food trails or culinary farm trails, the opportunity here is financial and or technical support for existing food or culinary or farm trails with the goals of enhancing the visitor experience and increasing business sales. So the key here is this is for existing trails that are looking to keep a brochure updated and in circulation, host a virtual convening of participating businesses along that food or culinary trail, which would support enhanced collaboration between businesses and potentially provide specific business training opportunities. Or another opportunity would be to produce new or additional signage to help visitors find businesses along the trail more easily. So this project category is, I just want to note, is the only category that is eligible for funding for brochure updates and reprinting. And that actually brings me to a note that I did want to mention, that I just want to emphasize that this program is really a visitor experience development program. It's not meant to be a marketing program. And as such, the outcomes generated through this program do not include or guarantee marketing or promotion in Travel Oregon channels. And additionally, you will not see very many, if any, opportunities in the project list. You'll see no opportunities in the project list for funding of general marketing activities. And this includes photo shoots, video shoots, website development, and paid advertising. So just please keep that in mind. These are meant to be more development-based, on the ground or business support projects. So back into food trails and culinary farm trails, last thing I'll note on this category is that due to the expedited timeline of the program, the creation of a new food trail is not an eligible project. So if that is something your destination is interested in, specifically if you're interested in joining the Oregon Food Trail program that Travel Oregon runs, please reach out to me directly and we can have a conversation about the Food Trail program separately from this Destination Ready opportunity. So moving on to water recreation, the opportunity here is financial and or technical support for projects with the goal of developing, improving, and stewarding water recreation as a key visitor experience. So eligible projects in this category would include river, lake, or beach cleanup events and programs, boat launch completion or improvement of existing launches, including ADA improvements, river or water trail mapping, this could be online or printed, signage projects, such as river mile markers, educational signage, that kind of thing. For this category, just keep in mind the realistic timeline of your project, especially for infrastructure projects. Do you ask yourself if you already have permits in hand or other required support or agreements in place before you apply? And remember that we're looking to fund shovel-ready projects that could be completed potentially as soon as this summer and definitely by September. We also encourage organizations applying in this area to include any relevant land management entities as project partners when you submit your application. And then in the area of high use and destination critical outdoor recreation, this opportunity is around financial or technical support for projects with the goal of addressing impacts on, I know it says public lands online, but this is really any recreation lands. So certain private lands that have trails being developed on them would also apply or would also be eligible. With the goal of addressing those impacts on recreation lands resulting from high levels of visitation and or to support stewardship of outdoor areas that are central to a destination's visitor offerings. So eligible projects are things like trail development, clearing, improvement, and other stewardship efforts and volunteer events. This could be for multi-use trails or for specific user group trails, such as equestrian trails, would be eligible. Private and public recreation lands are eligible, like I just said. So ideally, applicants have required permits and agreements in place upon application for any new trail development or improvements. Other projects would be recreation site infrastructure improvements and stewardship. So this is things like signage, kiosks, map updates that may be posted on kiosks, garbage management solutions, parking and transportation strategies and solutions. Again, all that can be accomplished within 6 months. So thinking a little smaller here. And then finally, responsible recreation messaging development and or deployment of the existing Take Care Out There messaging framework and assets that we do have for Oregon. This is one area that is eligible for funding that could be deployed using marketing activities such as video or social media asset creation, specifically with the goal of getting out responsible recreation messaging. Yeah, okay. And one quick note that I know a lot of work in this area does tie into larger planning processes. And I just want to emphasize that this program is meant to fund specific projects and not fund an overall planning process, such as a parks master plan. Okay, so next we have bike-friendly destinations. The opportunity here is financial or technical support for initiatives around creating a more bike-friendly destination in areas that have determined bicycle tourism to be a key visitor experience. So eligible projects in this category are development of a curated set of bike routes for integration into tourism platforms and other applications and websites, such as Ride with GPS or many of the others that exist out there. Investments in bike hubs that may include installing racks, fix-it stations, signage, water, bathrooms, camping, etc. And then finally, efforts to increase the quantity of bike-friendly businesses in the destination. So that is also Travel Oregon run program, the Bike-Friendly Business Program. And that brings us to our second to last category, small business marketing and technical support. The opportunity in this area is really just a single eligible project that is meant to provide funding and technical support for an effort to train businesses in marketing fundamentals and provide hands-on support to improve business marketing with the goal of really improving the accuracy and quality of business information that's available online. So we're describing this as a digital footprint audit and assistance program for businesses. And what this looks like is Travel Oregon would fund a contractor to work directly with a targeted group of businesses in a destination to identify and implement areas for improvement for those businesses on social media, website, and online listings. So the recommendation here is that destinations should focus on a category of businesses. So this could be a food trail, so businesses along a food trail or a culinary trail, or just target restaurants in a specific destination. You can also use kind of a narrow geography to identify the businesses you'd be working with. So say Main Street businesses for this project. But that's really the key here, is that this is a project to be led by a destination-based organization who would identify kind of what that categorical group of businesses that could use this kind of intensive one-on-one support is. And then the destination organization would then work with a contractor that Travel Oregon provides to conduct the audit and provide recommendations and implementation support to the businesses that need it. And then finally, we have business district and Main Street improvement. So this opportunity is financial support of infrastructure projects and programs with the goal of improving a destination's business district or Main Street. Eligible projects under this category would be things like funding to support an organized volunteer cleanup event or beautification program in a business district, the creation of outdoor public spaces for people to eat, drink, and patronize businesses safely, following state guidelines. So this is meant for kind of plaza concepts that would benefit multiple businesses. We would not be funding the creation of outdoor dining for an individual business through this program. And then finally, signage projects, which could include the development of informational kiosks or wayfinding programs. So that brings me to the end of our eligible projects list. I have seen there's been a lot of activity in the Q&A in the chat, which hopefully I can get to now, but I will pass the mic over to Jordan, I believe. Yeah, Jordan at this time.
Awesome. Oops. Looks like I'm muted. Okay, same thing happened to me. Thanks, Hillary. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Jordan McCauley. I'm on the Destination Development team. Thank you all for being here. We're seeing a lot of action in the Q&A. So after my section, we'll get to open Q&A time, and we'll hope to answer all your questions there. So thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and give an overview on the program timeline and process. Now that we've heard a lot about the program details and eligible projects, I'll dive into the timeline of implementation and process to apply and what to expect if your application is awarded. So for timeline, let me get to the next slide here. I believe we're all aware that we're currently in the open application period. So this is a great time for interested project teams to sort out project details, pull together any project partners, and continue to reach out to our development staff with any questions as they come up, especially as they relate to your project eligibility. So applications are going to be due on February 3rd at noon. And as Alexa mentioned a little bit, there are 4 components to our application package, 4 forms that are included on our industry website for download. The first one is an intake form. So this is a fillable PDF, and this really will highlight the details of your project, what kind of partners are included, and generally just an overview of timeline and what we can expect for your project proposal. The second form is a budget form. This is also required. So this is an overview of your project budget, and we'd also like to see any leveraged investments that will be coming in for your project. So any partner contributions or other funds that will be supporting your proposal. The third form is a letter of commitment. And this is really for the applicant lead to fill out. There's a few check marks of expectations if you're applying to the program, what you can expect, and what we'll expect from you if you are funded. So I definitely recommend that everyone gives that a thorough review. We'll have to have that signed by the lead applicant. The fourth piece, this is the partner agreement form. So if you will have partners supporting your project, whether it be financially, with capacity, or just supporting project planning and design, we'd like to have those partners on the partner agreement form, just so we know that they are also aware of the project and ready to move forward to support it. So those are the 4 components of the application, again, due on February 3rd, which is a little bit less than 2 weeks from today. Let's see. So after we receive all the applications, Travel Oregon will have an internal review process. And then we plan to announce the award recipients on February 11th. And from there, we're really planning on hitting the ground running pretty quickly. So between February 22nd and March 5th, that's when we'll be having initial project kickoff meetings with award recipients. So these meetings will be with Travel Oregon and the project team. We'll be finalizing the scopes of the project. We'll set a cadence for future action planning meetings moving forward. And we'll determine the support you need from Travel Oregon or from our contractors to implement your projects. So soon after those meetings take place, we'll start to work on a financial agreement, and we'll have that signed. Once it's signed, we can disperse funding to your project team. And then that's when the 6-month clock really starts ticking. So I know we've hit that home pretty hard, but once the financial agreement is signed, you then have 6 months to complete the project. And once we have everything moving, I would say from March and then 6 months forward, that's mostly where the project work will actually take place. So it could be different involvement from Travel Oregon and our contractors, depending on the project and depending on what kind of support you will be needing from our team. We do realize that each project will have a unique implementation process and timeline, so we're willing to kind of work with each one individually there. Finally, once projects start to reach completion and wrap up, we'll have a program wrap up, and there will be some reporting and evaluation expectations from the project leads. First expectation is a final report. This will be due within a month of project completion to Travel Oregon. And this could include, things like updates from the program or from the project along the way, kind of the final announcement of the project, any photos that you have of the project as it was being completed, maybe some quotes from stakeholders or the project team. So we can talk more about that during the initial scoping meeting, so everyone is super clear on reporting requirements. The second piece that is expected is leads will be expected to work with our evaluation firm that Travel Oregon will be contracting with to do this work. And leads will provide insight on the end result of the destination ready projects. This is really just to have a good metric for us to use so we can measure the program's impact on the ground and really be able to determine if destination ready provided positive impact on Oregon's tourism industry and local communities. So that is about it for the project process. And I see a few more questions are coming in. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to the full team and we'll take the rest of looks like we have 25 minutes left to answer everyone's questions.
Perfect. So I'm happy to start with the first one. And this one comes in, if applying for multiple projects under one project category, should we note the priority of projects? Like, for example, if there was a farm trail brochure and prints, reprints, and signage, etc. Hillary, do you have a perspective on that one?
Sorry, Alexa, can you repeat the beginning of that question? I was reading other questions.
Absolutely. If applying for multiple projects under one project category, should we note the priority of projects like farm trail, brochure prints, reprints, signage?
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful. And yeah, so I would rank the priority and also just know that we'll likely also be kind of prioritizing on our end based on which elements of that project application we think are most competitive and most impactful towards the goals of this program. So yeah, be inclusive and definitely let us know which ones you're really hoping to get funded versus ones that would just be kind of a nice bonus to also have funded.
Perfect, that sounds great. The next question is, would creating a map for a recently completed hiking trail be an eligible project?
I'd say it depends on what kind of map we're talking about here. As I mentioned in the project section, we are not planning on funding the creation of new brochures or rack cards, that kind of thing. That's more in the marketing space. If this is more of an informational map that would potentially be posted at the trailhead of that new hiking trail, or like an actual kind of map that one could use to navigate the trail, then I think that would be eligible. But Scott, please jump in if you have additional thoughts.
I have a question that just kind of has come through through some other emails that we've seen in the past week and such, and I think we could probably clarify it a little bit with our time here. Just touching on the ability to include multiple projects within one application, and I think it'd be good to clarify our desire to have all project categories in one application, and if there's a different project category, submitting more than one application for each category. I don't know if Alexa or Hillary, you want to speak to that?
I can speak to it. Yeah, so because of the range of funding that each application is eligible, which is between $10,000 and $50,000, we did want to kind of increase the opportunity for people to reach that 10K if their projects are on the smaller side by allowing folks to apply for multiple projects within a single project category. But within each category, we do want people to be hitting that $10,000 mark because we think that's where we will have great, the type of impact we're trying to have. So for that reason, it is one application per project category. And if you have like a really unique thing you're trying to do that really does bridge across multiple project categories, but it's one sort of cohesive project idea, I'd say reach out to us. We can certainly talk to you about that. Hopefully that was clear enough.
Great, and another question I've seen a couple times, if we could expand upon the garbage management solutions under the high use category. Don't know if anyone wants to speak to specific project ideas under that realm.
Looks like you're on mute, Scott.
I was on double mute, almost as good as a double rainbow. I did post something on the text answer as well related to this. We heard over the last peak visitor season that garbage management was an issue for multiple destinations, like on the beach or at trailheads or other places. And we also have heard of innovative programming where community volunteers or other organizations have gotten involved to help solve that problem. So if you were working on an outdoor recreation project, I think this probably could also relate to downtown and Main Street, garbage management projects to help support really quality visitor and local experience would be very eligible. Another example, which is somewhat off the garbage line, but in the same vein, would be downtown and Main Street cleanup projects. We do know that there have been some areas that have been hit with vandalism and other things like that in Oregon, and especially in areas where they are really important visitor experience areas and also obviously very important to the businesses and the local livability. Those kinds of projects would fit well within that kind of category.
Thank you, Scott. Looks like we have another clarifying question around a eligible project category or a type of project that could fit within a category. Performing arts and cultural arts you want to speak to kind of how that could be nestled under a few categories and which projects would be eligible.
Yeah, I'll start and take this one, and then anyone else can chime in for added. We did not include arts under this program, and we know that there are some resources for our organizations now. We're really excited about that have come through federal legislation, and definitely have been cheerleading for those efforts. We do, however, support arts and cultural projects that could relate to your business district or Main Street. So that may be signage and wayfinding projects or public art or other kinds of things that are impacting your Main Street. So some of the questions I've seen here, I think could actually fit within that if it's an important part of a downtown or a Main Street area where you're trying to activate that with an outdoor, an outdoor experience where people can come and enjoy that in a safe manner in the, over the summer or spring or fall. So while arts and culture is not a specific category, it could potentially fit under the downtown and Main Street area. So recognize that is probably the way that you want to really talk about that project. I'll see if others from the team want to add any additional context.
I think that captures everything from my angle. Super helpful, thank you. I do see a follow-up on that of, would a downtown public art installation be an eligible project?
So I think going off of the answer I just gave, the answer would be yes. And I think you again want to really emphasize how would that installation impact the visitor experience, especially given the light that this summer there still may be and expect there to be some kind of restrictions related to mass gatherings and whatnot. So if you really can talk about how this would impact your Main Street and business district and be an important element of the visitor experience there, that's how I would really position that type of application.
Perfect. So riffing off that, just to confirm, in an additional question, purchasing infrastructure in a Main Street that elevates the user experience, such as matching decorative trash and recycling, benches, signposts, and wayfinding signs, all are possible infrastructure investments, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Perfect. Okay. One of the next questions that we see are coming in is, are all 6 eligibility categories judged with equal weight?
So I think this is referring to the 6 project categories. Yes, I would say so. We haven't had any conversations as a team around prioritization between those categories. That's just meant to be a list of projects that we see as impactful in meeting kind of the parameters of this program. So within those categories, we will be making judgment calls around what we think is going to be the most impactful projects. And that will depend on a variety of factors.
Absolutely. So we've got a great food trail question that just came in. So speaking to One Region's experience, due to COVID, we saw our food trail business brochures change drastically and quickly as businesses pivoted and flexed with the pandemic. We also saw an increased desire for outdoor recreation experiences. Would transforming traditional paper brochure materials to virtual platforms be enough of a development project to qualify, or is that slipping into the marketing caveat?
Yeah, that is a tricky question. I'm not sure that I have the perfect answer for it, because I definitely want to acknowledge the validity of that experience, and also acknowledge that, we are kind of rounding out, hopefully coming towards the end of this COVID-19 experience. And so we are interested in kind of getting traditional brochures and materials back to a place that provides accurate information once more, that may reflect some business closures or some business pivots that are expected to continue in the long term, and not just kind of in response to our current environment. So that's what I would say. I don't know if Scott, you have an opinion you want to add here. Okay. Hopefully that is helpful. We are trying to avoid funding website development through this program, which we do see as being more in the marketing space.
Perfect. I've got another fun one that's Main Street focused. If our outdoor eating space would support food trucks, would that qualify as benefiting multiple businesses for Main Street?
Maybe I'm not exactly sure what the specific ask would be or what the request would be there. So if it's setting up an area where food trucks would go in, infrastructure related to that, and those food trucks would actually be in during the summer, I think that would be an eligible, eligible project. Again, I think you really want to demonstrate how this project will positively impact the visitor experience as well as the local livability, locals as well. So we want to have projects that hit both, but really demonstrate how creating that kind of project will be important for visitors in your area. I would say, a flip project that we have had questions on this chat so far about would be for funding for outdoor eating spaces for existing restaurants or food trucks or other kinds of eateries, and those kinds of projects also would be welcome and are eligible.
Perfect, thank you. Our next one goes towards an outdoor recreation question. Would a regional map of water access points for various water sports be eligible?
I'm trying to see if Scott's going to answer this one. I think this goes back to my response related to the hiking trail map. It kind of depends on what type of map you're creating. Is it one that can be used as an actual wayfinding resource for visitors, or is it more of like a tourism brochure? And we would like to be funding more of the former, which would be sort of informational maps.
Yeah, and just to double down on that, things like wayfinding signage, mile marker signage, other kinds of projects that could include one-way, if it's a land trail, like one-way usage signs, other types of projects like that are definitely eligible and welcome. But as Hillary said, we are really pushing away from marketing materials or informational materials that wouldn't be that would just be distributed at, say, visitor centers or other places. And we're more pushing for infrastructure type signage and information.
I saw one question related to contractors for project implementation. Someone asked where the contractors will come from. And Travel Oregon, we have our Travel Oregon staff, and then we'll also have a crew of contractors that can help support some of these projects. But we're also open to contractors that the applicant has on hand. So if there's already capacity to support your project, either through your organizational staff or contractors that you're already building a relationship with, we're happy to also use funding to support those contractors implementing the project. So those are discussions that will probably take place during the kickoff meetings, but it could be kind of either way.
Yeah, and I think this was mentioned, but I'll just dive in on the contractor piece a little deeper, which is examples of where contractors may be needed would be around things like final design and best practices of wayfinding signage, or implementation of programs where you have the program basically designed, but you want to make sure it's meeting best practices. Things like I've seen interest in things like garbage programs that would be on rivers, for example, where there already are those kinds of programs that are offered, and so you want to replicate those. Another example that is clearly eligible in the program is around small business marketing support for your businesses, whether they're on Main Street or along food trails. So if that was something that you wanted to offer, and we believe that having businesses have really accurate information on their website, accurate Google listings, and strong social media presence, that having businesses be really clear about those is an important piece of this work, that we would potentially, if you applied and needed a contractor to assist in that kind of project to help businesses with technical consulting, that would be another example of a contractor we can help bring to the table. All right, who's going to ask the next question?
Perfect. So I've got one coming from the Medford area. Would a downtown business map apply? I know there's a lot of questions about maps that are coming in because, and they said this map will need to be revised since we lost and gained new businesses. It would also need to be revised. So a designer would need to be included.
I'm not sure if you want to take this, Hillary, or I can, since I'm unmuted. Again, downtown wayfinding signage and maps would be eligible for this program, but a walking map, that's not the kind of project we're aiming to fund right now through this program. So it's a yes and answer.
Perfect. So in addition to the Main Street questions that have come in, eligible projects are around like funding, the volunteer cleanup, creation of public spaces, and signage projects. Would a welcome to blank district sign be eligible?
Yeah, I think that would be considered a wayfinding sign, like a welcome to this community or this business district. And that would be eligible.
Perfect. What about First Fridays or art walks? Would those qualify in the way food trails do?
I wouldn't consider those unless they were specifically, obviously an art trail isn't a culinary trail. If the First Fridays have a specific culinary focus, they could be potentially qualified as a culinary trail, but I would be interested in the actual project that the funding would go towards. Like, how would the funding be used to support that kind of thing? Because I could see it fitting into either the business district improvement category, or like I said, if it was culinary focused, the food and culinary trails category. But we would need to know more details around what exactly is being funded.
Another question related to contractors come in from the Hood Gorge region. How do we know how much a travel organ contractor would cost for services, or should we price out based on contractors we already work with? So I'll take a first stab at this. I would think that for the project applications, we would like the applicants to actually do the research to figure out kind of project costs and how much they expect the project to actually turn out to be. And then we'll kind of use those projected budgets when we're reviewing applications. But it does depend on the scope of the project and details of the project that we'll be talking about also during the first kickoff meeting. Scott, I don't know if you want to elaborate on any of that.
Yeah, I think this is I would say this is a little bit of a tricky piece in the way that we have this set up, just to be honest. But typically what we find is contractors range between $100 and $150 an hour, depending on what the contractors are. So I think you'd be pretty safe using a number in that ballpark, depending on what kind of service it is. For whether it's a marketing contractor or a design contractor, that's the typical rate that we see when we're working with contractors who are, highly trained professionals in the field. They can be more or less, but I would stick in that range.
Here's an additional question that also goes towards budget. One question is, how do we estimate the budget for the small business marketing and technical support category? If we, for example, have 10 businesses, would we like to support if there is a cost estimate for each? How do we determine that amount?
So how do we determine the budget for the digital footprint audit? That's what the question is about.
Yes.
Yeah, I would go back to Scott's response around it's going to be mostly contracted hours. So kind of give your best estimate of how many hours of support the businesses you anticipate the businesses needing, and then how many businesses you would hope to engage, and kind of make an estimate from there. And yeah, that's kind of the best guidance I can give. Well, we would work with you from there, based on contractors that we have lined up to support that, and kind of make sure we're going to accomplish your goals. I don't know if Scott, that's what you would say as well. Okay.
Going off of that same topical area as a clarifying question, could funding to complete the recommended online business information improvements going a bit beyond an audit be included in a proposal?
So the question is whether it would be funding for recommendations that would follow an audit. Is that what the question was?
I think what she means is, can they build upon the audit to include more like online business information improvements? If I'm guessing right, Google My Business, other types of like
that's
integration.
Yes, and we intend for like a full kind of spectrum of online business information to be included in that audit. So it would touch on online listings, which would include Otis, our information system, Google My Business, really a variety. Like we'd try to have a broad stroke in that space, not just limited to like a website and social media review.
Perfect. Jumping over to outdoor recreation, this might be a quick one, but would development of a mountain bike, hiker, and horse trail system be eligible?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's come up from several areas. Yes, that is. Perfect. How about this one? So outside information stations like signage, including website links, phone numbers, QR codes, weatherproof space holders for printed materials that they already have. They're trying to keep their visitor center accessible and have as much information for visitors whenever they come.
Yeah, I think this would be eligible. We're definitely interested in helping visitor centers stay in use and reaching visitors. So yeah, that would be an eligible project.
Perfect. I've got a fun one for you about bike-friendly businesses. If we wanted to help increase the quantity of bike-friendly businesses, is that working with existing businesses to meet the standards to qualify as a BFB?
Yes, it could look like a variety of things. You could either do more hands-on outreach, like I think that question is speaking to, where you could work with businesses to actually add additional services to become extra bike friendly, or it could just be a general kind of outreach effort to get the word out about the program and try and drive applications, if that's something you haven't really spent a lot of energy doing in your destination before or recently.
Perfect. It is 12:29, so we've probably got 1 minute left for questions. I know we'll be posting responses to questions on our industry page as well. Is there any last one that we want to highlight?
So one question about the budget form that's required in the application packet. Just clarifying that, yes, that is the budget form we would like applicants to use. If you have supplemental information or documents about your budget, feel free to submit those to us as well. But the required piece is the budget form that's downloadable on our industry website.
Perfect. Then on behalf of our team, thank you guys so much for attending and joining us today. We're excited to get the information posted onto our industry website. Additional questions will be posted there. Thank you all for your time, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.